Hello everybody and welcome to the Football Philosophy channel, and it's West Brom away this weekend on Sunday afternoon, a 2 o'clock kickoff live on Sky. Looking forward to that one in a big way. It's a must-win game. We've got to just try and hang on to City's coattails for as long as it's still feasible. I wouldn't say mathematically possible. You know, you could be 15 points behind. I don't like it when people say it's mathematically possible. If you're 15 points or 18 points behind them, it might be mathematically possible, but really it's virtually impossible for that to happen, for them to drop all those points while you're winning all your games. So I would say not only is it mathematically possible still at the minute, but it's still feasible. At the minute, they've got a game in hand. We're 5 points behind City. Every time I say that, the Sheffield United game comes back to haunt me, by the way. I'd feel so much better if we were 2 points behind them. But we're 5 points behind them. City have got a game in hand. There's no guarantees that they win that game in hand. Whoever it's against, I've not even checked who it's against. Say it was a team that could hang on to a draw, that makes a 6 point gap. We've still got to play them. Obviously, you've got to hope to be able to beat them. I'm going to touch on that shortly. So it's mathematically possible, but it's also feasible. But we do have to win our games, and we can't afford... I know you can't win every game, obviously, but when I say win our games, you certainly can't afford to be going away to a team in the bottom three and dropping points at this stage if you want to stay in the title race. I don't only look at the title race, by the way, at the minute. I also, as I've said a few times, I look behind us. A lot of fans only look up and think, all we can do is try and overtake it, whoever it is that's in front of us. But I'm also a realist, and I also look behind and see who's creeping up behind. And it's pretty handy for us this week that Leicester are playing Liverpool, I've noticed. City are playing Spurs, by the way. So while we're, it's not at the same time, but we're playing West Brom. Touch wood, it's a nailed-on 3 points. You shouldn't really say that, but it's just got to be. So if we get the 3 points at West Brom, City are, they've got obviously a tricky fixture, Spurs. Although I did watch Spurs play Liverpool only a week or so back, and Liverpool absolutely walked it. I was surprised how poor Spurs were against Liverpool. Although I have got to add that Harry Kane got a knock in that game and came off before half time, and even though he played the first half, they don't half miss him. So I think Spurs, Harry Kane's fit again, and I think Spurs might well give City a game. Fingers crossed, City could drop points there. If we win, we might sneak 2 points back on them. And at the same time, as I say, I do look behind. And Leicester are on 43 points on the same games as us, and Liverpool are 5 points behind us on the same games as us, and they play each other. So as far as the race for the top four is as well. We should gain ground as long as we win our game. Well, if we win our game, we will gain ground on at least one of those teams. In fact, we'll gain ground on both of them if it ends up in a draw and we manage to win. So it's vital in more ways than one that we win this game. As I say, they are in the bottom three. They've got the worst goals against record in the Premier League by some distance. They've conceded 54 goals so far. There isn't another team in the league that have in the Premier League that have conceded 40 even. So they're way out in front for the goals against. I have noticed, as daft as it sounds, what I'm going to say, how often they're letting goals in still, but they have tightened up a little bit. When Sam Allardyce first took over, they let in a 3, a 4, and a 5. And I've looked at the run of results recently, and whether they win, lose or draw, because they've actually won a game 3-2 recently against Wolves. So whether they win, lose or draw, they've actually let exactly 2 in 6 of the last 7 games. And although 2's a lot, it's not a lot compared to how they started. So they've let exactly 2 in 6 out of 7 games. The odd one game out of those 7 was actually against City, and City put 5 past them. But, they are conceding 2 a game still, even though they've tightened up a little bit. So if we can get 2 there, surely it's enough for us to win the game. We've got to do that at least, get 2 or 3 goals. And I won't be expecting a 9-0. That was a great boost to our goal difference last week. But, if we can get more than 2, if we can get 3 or 4 goals against him, it might be a boost to the goal difference as well. After we play West Brom, as I always say, I expect the team, the manager, etc., to only take one game at a time, and it is a true saying. Us as fans, we can look as far ahead as we want. After West Brom in the league, our next game is against Newcastle. So again, that's a game that we've got to be expecting to win. That's a home game against Newcastle. We've got to expect to win that game. And these two games coming up, West Brom and Newcastle, it's absolutely vital that we don't slip up. The two games after that in the league are Chelsea and City. So obviously Thomas Tuchel's took over now at the Stamford Bridge. He's doing a decent job. They're hardly letting a goal in, as you know, in the first 4 to 5 games he's been in charge. I think they've let 1 goal in 5 games or something. So he's really tightened them up. They're climbing the league. In fact, another quick look at the league table. Chelsea are on 39 points on the same games as us. So they're only 6 points behind us. You know, if we don't win these games and Chelsea win theirs along the way, you know, but they could be playing us on that day to try and catch us up, or even worse. So we've got to beat West Brom. We've got to beat Newcastle, and that starts obviously this weekend, Sunday at 2 o'clock. We need to win at the Hawthorns on Sunday in a big way. Ollie's done his press conference. He's mentioned obviously Paul Pogba's out. He's out for a few weeks, I believe, with his thigh strain. So Paul's out. There's no further injuries. So I'll have a guess at the starting lineup for that game against West Brom. I fancy it'll be David De Gea in goal. I think it'll be the usual back four: Wan-Bissaka, Lindelof, Maguire and Shaw. There's no Pogba to compete for the midfield, and Matic seems to be out of favour behind McTominay and Fred. So I think McTominay and Fred will start. I think Bruno will obviously start at number 10. I think Cavani will start at 9, and I just think there's a little bit of doubt over who will play as the 2 flank players. I'm sure Marcus prefers it wide on the left, but so does Anthony Martial prefer it wide on the left. Both of them prefer the left to the right, and Mason is the one who often gets put out on the right. It could well be Mason again on the right and Marcus on the left. But if he decides to play Martial, I think it'll be Martial left and Rashford right. That wouldn't surprise me. I'm going to have a guess that this weekend, I'll just run through it again quickly. It'll be De Gea, Wan-Bissaka, Maguire, Lindelof and Shaw. It'll be McTominay and Fred, Bruno at number 10, and I think it'll be Rashford, Cavani and Martial. I'm going to just say something about the situation between the wingers, because they are all wingers really now that Cavani's playing most of the games, or certainly the important games at number 9. I'm not having a go at Mason in any way, shape or form. I think the lad's a perfectly decent player. He's doing a good job out there on the right when he plays for United on the right. And what I am really having a go at is the fans really. You know, some of the things that get said about Anthony Martial for not scoring enough goals. And I know he's an older player, but doesn't really matter. Whoever's playing in the team, you know, the management have decided that he's good enough, he's young enough, or he's old enough, or whatever that might be, tall enough, short enough, I don't care. You know, no matter what reason you're going to give, if you are selected to play for Manchester United, one of, if not the biggest football club in the world, you need to be good enough to play in that team. I don't care how old you are or how young you are. I think everybody knows that I've got no problem picking some of the old players and or some of the older players, and a lot of people seem to like the younger players. Look, I don't care how old or how young you are. I like the best players. That's the way I look at it. I like the best players. So the reason I'm mentioning this thing about Mason is 99%, or it seemed like 99% of the people, if not 100%, were saying that Mason's got to play because of the amount of goals he scored this last season. But this season he's not scoring goals, and I hear so many people saying Martial's not scoring enough goals, he's not scoring enough goals, he needs to be left out. And yet some of the same people are now saying, oh, Mason's playing well. The same thing that I've been saying about Martial all season. He's playing well enough. It doesn't matter that he's not scoring goals. It doesn't matter. So I'm not saying that Mason's got to start scoring goals. I'm just talking about what other people say. And suddenly, with Mason, it doesn't seem to matter to those people that he's not scoring goals. He's got 1 goal he's got 4 goals overall and 1 in the league so far this season. And I reiterate, I am not having a go at him. I don't care who scores the goals. I'm simply pointing out how many people are having a go at Anthony Martial for not scoring goals, and yet they're pushing Mason to be in the team, and Mason's not scored as many goals as Anthony has. And I know he's not as old. I know he's not as, well, I was about to say not as good. I don't think he is as good. But it's just funny how people look at it. It's fine for Mason. He's playing well enough. But they were saying when he first came into the team that he's got to be in the team because he scores so many goals. Well, he isn't scoring so many goals this season, so it's an interesting one. My first name on the team sheet from the forwards would be Anthony Martial anyway. Whether he's at number 9 or at number 11, he needs to be in the team, in my opinion. But I do think that this week, I think he will start with Marcus on the right and Martial on the left. I think Mason might just get a rest this weekend. So that's my guess at the team. Whatever team he picks, as I say, the points are absolutely vital. We've got to stay not just as close as we can to City, just in case of any slip-ups, as I said, but we have got to start looking behind us at the rest of the table. I've mentioned already Chelsea sneaking up. I mean, look, we shouldn't. I know, no disrespect to these clubs. You know, we're Man United. Not long ago, we'd never finished outside 3rd. So the likes of West Ham and Everton were never a concern to us. So I'm not disrespecting these clubs. I'm really not. They're both big football clubs in their own right, and they're both doing really well. They've both got a good team, and they've both got a good manager. David Moyes is doing a great job at West Ham, and obviously Ancelotti speaks for himself. But West Ham are only 6 points behind us, you know. So if we're thinking we can catch City, they're 5 points in front of us, and they've got a game in hand on us. That's feasibly 8 points. There's no point looking at the size of the club. You've just got to look at the numbers. So you've got to look at. So you know, West Ham are 6 points behind us on the same on the same games as us, and Everton. I know the games in hand need winning. It's not that easy winning games in the Premier League. But they've got 2 games in hand on us, and if they could win those 2 games in hand, they'd only be 2 points behind us, which is, you know, amazing really at this stage of the year, considering we're in 2nd and Everton are in 7th. And 1 step back from Everton, Spurs. Obviously, Spurs have got City this weekend, so as much as we'd like Spurs to get something off City to give us a chance in the table, or to increase our very slim chance, I think, anyway, but to increase our slim chances. At the same time, if Spurs were to manage to win that game, they would move to 6 points behind us with a game in hand on us. So you've always got to look at that angle of it as well. And then back in 9th, Aston Villa played 21, so 2 games in hand, 35 points. Even Villa, if they could win their 2 games in hand, would only be 4 points behind us. So it is feasibly still tough. At the top, challenging for the top 4 spots for people that are coming up behind us, not just us trying to hang on to City's coattails. Obviously, when you look at all those teams individually, any one of them mathematically has got a chance of catching us, but they've obviously all got to play each other, and they've all got to, you know, virtually all of them have still got to play all of the others. So points have got to go missing between themselves. So I'm not thinking for 1 second, that more than a couple could catch us, but it is feasible that we will still be looking at a top 4 place being a decent finish, as opposed to a title race. I'd love to get back in the title race, but I think we are just really slipping out of it at the moment. Fantastic weekend of football coming up. It's all live. Every single game's live. I've noticed that all the games are live each weekend. Obviously, everybody knows that, but I'm pretty certain that normally a couple of games, there might be 2-3 o'clock games on a Saturday, or sometimes they overlap each other. I'm pretty certain it's not normally that you can watch every game, but every game is live, all at different times this weekend. I will be glued to Leicester and Liverpool. Doesn't really matter how that game goes for us. It's going to put somebody further back behind us if we win our game. But I will be interested to. I'd like Leicester to win it. I'd love to. But in fact, what would we do if Leicester can beat Liverpool, which obviously wouldn't be far-fetched in any way, shape or form, and we beat West Brom? We would stretch our lead over Liverpool to 8 points on the same game. So I'd like Leicester to win it. But as I say, one of them's going to fall behind us, or even both of them, as long as we win our match. That's at 12:30 on BT. Palace Burnley, Sky at 3 o'clock. City v Spurs, the other big one. I'm going to watch that one as well. That's on Sky at 5:30. And then in the evening, Brighton and Aston Villa at 8 o'clock. On Sunday, you've got Southampton and Wolverhampton Wanderers at midday. And then there's our game, the West Brom game on Sky Sports at 2 o'clock. Arsenal v Leeds on Sky at 4:30, and Everton v Fulham at BT at 7. And then on Monday, you've got West Ham v Sheffield United at 6 o'clock and Chelsea v Newcastle at 8 o'clock. Just as I was speaking about the teams that are creeping up behind us, we can ill afford. I really fancy Chelsea to beat Newcastle. As I've said, they're only 6 points behind us now. If we drop any points at West Brom, it'll be a disaster. I'm pretty sure Chelsea will do their job and sneak even closer to us. We've had the FA Cup draw. We've drawn Leicester. That is going to be on the weekend commencing the 20th of March. They haven't given the exact date or the exact time yet. Leicester had a tough game like we did. They beat Brighton 1-0. I think it was an injury time winner as well. So Leicester got through against Brighton, and we play Leicester away, as I say, around the 20th of March. That could be changed for TV only by a day or so. The rest of the FA Cup draw, quarter-final draw, City are away to Everton. What a fantastic game that was. I watched that, Everton and Spurs. I'll talk about that one again in a minute. Bournemouth have drawn Southampton, so they did well to get through. Bournemouth beat Burnley away. And Southampton had a good win as well, 2-0 away at Wolves. So South Coast derby there, Bournemouth and Southampton. And Chelsea have drawn Sheffield United. Chelsea had a tough one as well. They beat Barnsley 1-0 with quite a late goal. But from that draw, I've got to be honest, I fancy Chelsea to get through to the semis. I fancy Southampton to get through to the semis. If Southampton are at full strength, they had a hell of a lot of players missing and played with 10 men against us. I wouldn't say, it won't be a walkover if you were to draw Southampton. But I fancy Chelsea, Southampton. I've got to be honest, I fancy City, but Everton can put a game together that can give City, a proper game. As I say, I watched that. I've just said before, Ancelotti's doing a fantastic job there. It's just that City are on such a roll. You've got to fancy City. But always say you don't know. It could be an humdinger of a game. If it's anything like the Spurs game, it'd be well worth a watch. How he did that, Ancelotti, is beyond me. It was a great game to watch. 5-4. 5-4 after extra time. 4-all at 90 minutes. And they were down to the bare bones. They had a couple missing to start with, and then during the game, Calvert-Lewin had to go off injured. I hope that doesn't keep him out for very long. A slight hamstring strain, I believe. So they were down to the bare bones, Everton, during that game, and they had Coleman, the right back that they've had for years, come onto the field playing as a right winger or a wide right midfield player, and he still looks a fine player. I've got to say there was a period where Everton had Coleman and Baines as the two fullbacks for years, and Coleman and Baines to me were as good a pairing of fullbacks as there was in the Premier League. And as big a club as Everton are, I was surprised that nobody came in with proper decent money for those two fullbacks, or one or the other. I thought Baines is now retired. I think Coleman's only about 32. But Coleman came on as a sub, played on the right wing, and still looks absolutely superb, if I'm honest. And it was a fantastic win for Everton against Spurs. Spurs started with Harry Kane on the bench and brought him on. Obviously, they thought they might be able to manage without him, but it came back to bite him. So Harry Kane came on. He scored one goal, I think, Harry Kane, when he came on a header. But they couldn't do it. Spurs couldn't get through. So there you go. It's City and Everton Bournemouth and Southampton, Chelsea, Sheffield United, and we're away to Leicester, which by no means will be an easy game either. It'll be a proper tough game, that one. Also, the Europa League is back this week. On Thursday night, we play our away game against Real Sociedad. Due to COVID restrictions or travel restrictions through COVID, the game is not allowed to be played in San Sebastian. It seems like a while ago now. I think the draw was early December, and when we drew Real Sociedad back at the early part of December, I was looking ahead to late February or mid-February as it is, and hoping that there might be fans back in grounds and that we might be able to travel, and it's just got worse and worse and worse. It's one of San Sebastian, where they play their home games normally, is one of the most beautiful parts of Spain, a lovely part of the world, and I was desperate to go there, but as I say, even the team can't go there. The game's being played in Turin. Fair play to Wally during his press conference, by the way. He even said that it feels as though we've got an unfair advantage even without fans. He thinks we've got an unfair advantage because Real Sociedad are not going to get to play their home leg at home, and yet still going to play the away leg away. So we're playing the home leg on a neutral ground, and the away leg, their away leg, our home leg at Old Trafford. So fair play to Wally. He said he actually said that he wouldn't be against it if we were asked to play it as a one-off game on a neutral ground. And I thought that was very, very big of him to say that, unless of course he just knows there's no chance whatsoever of that happening. But I thought it was good of him to say that he wouldn't have a problem playing it as a one-off if they thought that was fairer. So that's that. One quick thing that I did mention on Twitter, and a few people came back to me saying this is where we are now. Have we turned into Arsenal? Where I said I would take top four. I don't think we're really in with a great, well, we're not even in with a good chance of winning the league. I think City are in too much. Their form's too good. I don't see them dropping enough points. If they win the game in hand, they've got an 8 point. I know they've got to win it yet, but that'll be an 8 point lead. We do play them coming up quite soon, early March. We'd have to win that one to have any chance. A draw's no good. When we played them at Old Trafford, a draw at that stage when it was so tight at the top was fine. But when we play City coming up in early March, we've got to win. A draw is no good whatsoever if we want to chase the title. If we're happy to finish in the top four, by the way, a point's fine against City. It's a game where most teams would expect to get no points. So if you get a point against City and we're chasing the top four, I think it's a reasonable result. But if we want to win the league title, it's no good whatsoever. As I was about to say, a few people on Twitter saying, where are we now? We're not Arsenal, we want to win it. We don't just want to finish in the top four. I don't look at it that we just want to finish in the top four. I want us to be in the Champions League. If we're in I know the top four gets you in the Champions League, but I'm looking at it in that light. Forget that I'm saying we want to be top four. We do want to be in the Champions League. However you get there, by the way, you could get there by winning the Europa, but we do want to be in the Champions League. It is, once you get through the group stages, which as was proved this year, it's not easy to get through the group stages. But once you do get through the group stages, it is a knockout tournament. And in a knockout tournament, you have got a puncher's chance. So I wouldn't say, if we were in the Champions League, that it'd be impossible for us to win it. I would suggest that you would have slightly more chance of winning the Champions League, maybe even a bit more than that, than you would have of winning the Premier League. 38 games in the Premier League, you can't afford too many slip-ups. In the Champions League, get through to the last 16, you could be lucky in the draw and draw a team that you can beat anyway. You only need a little bit of luck then in the last 8 and the semi-final to get through to the final. It isn't beyond the realms of possibility that you could win the Champions League. So I want to be in it. If you're not in it, you can't win it. So we want to be in it to win it. I hope you've enjoyed that show. If you've enjoyed that show, please tell all your friends. Please subscribe. If you didn't enjoy it, don't tell anybody. Keep stum.